What's up? This is Joel from Joel Does Music here with my boy. He is the Tim Feerick of the bands SPITSHINE and Friends Like Strangers, Dan C. He is the bass player too, by the way. What's up, Dan?
What's up, man? That is a very honorable title. Rest in peace, Tim. I don't know if I deserve that quite yet, but thank you. That means a lot to me.
Well, when I hear your bass playing in SPITSHINE's music and even the debut album from Friends Like Strangers, I just think this man's got it going on. There's that groove, that feeling, that R&B swing that you incorporate. And it's also a bit pop punky and alternative at times. I think that was everything that Tim Feerick, at least in my opinion, molded so well, and it made him such the VIP of Dance Gavin Dance.
Yeah, he really had such a unique style, and he had one where, he took a lot of the rules and he just straight up broke them. He followed that musician's intuition in a lot of his writing, which is what I try to do, and I try not to think too hard. I try to just go for it, and I'm a big advocate of exploring the entire bass and doing some cool stuff. It's just fun to do. So I just tend to be drawn to that stuff, and he's someone along with a long string of bassists that have just like taken everything that's come before them and they've given it this fresh spin. So I got to commend him for that. And his legacy, he's got some great projects, and Wolf and Bear as well,
Oh, yeah.
which is one of his projects. They just came out with a record, so that's his last ever recorded work. If you don't know about him or that band, please go listen because it's an awesome record.
Yeah, and honestly, when I listen to SPITSHINE's music and Friends Like Strangers, like I said before, it really shows you're not trying to emulate him, but it just shows that you really were inspired and influenced by him, and his playing meant the world to you. It just shines all throughout your bass playing, and it's such a thrill to listen to, man. Seriously.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that LP with Friends Like Strangers, definitely, no doubt, is influenced by him. Influenced by a band called Issues. I was listening heavily to a band called Toe at the time, and just it's such a classic cliche, but such a great cliche within like rock music. Just that really aggressive Fender tone and just that growly deep. I don't know, man. Like especially when it gets groovy, that's just right up my alley, and that's exactly what I tried to bring to that record, and to give it a little zest in the bass.
Well, you mentioned Friends Like Strangers. We will talk about that band a little bit later in the interview, but I want to start off with SPITSHINE, man. The newest
Yeah,
single
man.
that came out, self-titled, is literally the name of the song. There's so much going on, man. Like, I don't know if you were aware of it when you were writing your bass parts or when you were collaborating with the rest of the band, but it seems like there were different movements going on. Like in the first half of the song, you have like your typical indie punk tempo happening. And it feels like there may have been a time signature change. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but also during the middle of the song, there's that nice, it sounds like it's in 6/8. There's a swing going on where it kind of mellows out a bit. And then it picks up again and it's Dance Gavin Dance. And then during the end of the song, there's halftime going on. What were you guys thinking when you wrote that song? Because it sounds like Dance Gavin Dance, Two Door Cinema Club, Block Party, even Weezer at times going on.
Yeah, we that song was something that Kyle had pulled out of his back pocket and was kind of one of those, cliche riffs that never had been finished. And we got to that song and we just loved the energy and what was coming out of it just from that initial riff, which was right at the beginning. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. And it just kind of exploded from there. There absolutely is some time changes in there. If you delve back into the archives of SPITSHINE and listen to some of the earlier projects, you can find that all over the place. And I love when bands do that. I love unconventional. I love just go with the flow. And we just didn't stop that trend. And we tried to do it in a newer way, in a more kind of aggressive way, I think, for the band. Considering past songs, they've always been a heavy band as far as like emotionally and lyrics wise, and they've had their moments. But I think this song and some of the next songs we're going to release are going to be a lot more octane, but still with that signature spit shine. Let's throw some
Yeah.
6/8 here. Let's throw a dance party here. We just like to have fun.
Yeah, it's such a fun song to listen to. I went from feeling introspective and reflective, then all of a sudden, oh, we're getting a little mellow out here. All right, I'm gonna lay back on my bed. And then dance punk influence kicks in. I'm thinking, oh, this is a party. I'm shaking my butt to this part, man. It's great. I'm grooving. I'm vibing, you know?
Yeah, man. And that's exactly what we're trying to go for. Like I don't know about you, but like me personally, as like a musician and one who consumes music, coming out of like COVID times, like we're kind of like back to normal, if you want to call it that. Whatever, however you take that. I just personally was feeling like, there's this 2010 span of all this great music and all this really great emo stuff that's been coming out, and especially now with this like evolution of like this pop metal sort of fusion, like Home Team, like all those bands coming out now. Like it just felt like this more like kind of positive side sounding aggressiveness. Just it felt fresh to me and it felt fresh to the band. And that's kind of a big proponent of the next song that's coming out, and we're gonna kind of do a little bit of a play on the whole emo thing with some later tracks. So that's really exciting.
So when it comes to Spitshine, who is the main songwriter or the main songwriters? Is it Kyle that's the main songwriter? Is it Emily? Or do they both kind of tag team when it comes to writing the music? Like what usually happens in that process?
I think overall, Kyle would be considered like the primary songwriter from the point of coming up with either loose skeletons or riffs. Sometimes songs are born out of a rehearsal. Sometimes he'll come to us with a passage, and then if we're in a rehearsal, we'll kind of just start playing and see what happens. And that to me is like the most fun you can have in a band is just taking someone's idea and then just putting all that DNA into it, and suddenly you have a track. So that's usually how it goes. For this collection of songs we're releasing, I did have the honor of being able to write one of the songs, as far as like the skeleton and general idea. And of course, inversely, Kyle and the crew absolutely just exploded the potential on it, and I'm super stoked about that one. So it's a very collaborative process, and Kyle, I think is honestly the real mastermind. He's got such a great vision for his lyrics and is such a good descriptor. It's truly like I could never do it. I could try. I've tried writing lyrics; they're always cringe. I don't know how to write non-cringy, and he's so good at it. So that coupled with his songwriting, I think, is a good marriage, and that really helps formulate those initial ideas into something more substantial.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. You take a stab at something to get out of your comfort zone. Like for you, it was writing lyrics. You gave it a shot. You thought, all right, it's a little too cringe. It ain't it for me. You gave it a shot. There's always bands that have those cringe lyrics when it comes to like, oh, the voices in my head. Oh, how I'm feeling. Just super emo lyrics. But with Kyle, and I've known Kyle for years, I went to college with him. He has always been such an authentic musician. Just he's a poet with his words, his guitar playing, it just fits the song. And the fact that you were able to be in this band with him, it's like you have MVPs essentially in this band.
It's insane. I give him so much credit in the world. Funny story about Spitshine. When I first saw them, I didn't know they existed. This was right at their inception. This is when everyone's starting to play at Boone Tunes. Shout out Boone Tunes, rest in peace. In Boonton, New Jersey. I had the honor and privilege of jumping on a bill with them in one of my first bands that I had, Tarnished. And we were able to play that band. And I remember they were either the second to last band or either the last band. I'm not even sure. And I remember even at that time, and this was with Kyle, this was Ori, this was Tom, Tom Hickey, blew me away even at the time. And they had just formed. I had known Ori sort of here and there through Willie P as well. Like just killed it. I was like, I looked to Rob DeLillo, who was actually just on your Green Day show for Dookie. Shout out Dookie.
Yo,
We looked at each other and we were like, best band here. We just like we're like, yeah, no, we all suck. They are the best. And from that moment, I was like, wow, they're so cool. And then progressively from there, like I just didn't get to see them. Like they would play here. I just wasn't, And then finally, I'd come around to see them back in 2022, and they were playing on a cool bill with our friends, A Beautiful Somewhere, who had just released their record at the time. And so they did a show, and I got to see them again, and it was just such a nostalgic, like, yep, that's still Spitshine. They still are so dang good. And little did I know at that moment that I would be joining the band 3 weeks later. But it was just like one of those like crazy things. And then Brady, who's a good friend of mine as well, who was the bass at the time, he got relocated for work and got the news that he was going to be relocated that day, that show,
Wow.
unbeknownst to me. I had no idea. I didn't know him when I first initially saw them and, introduced. And I was like, well, yeah. And then a couple days later, they had made a post basically saying, we're going to miss Grady. We're looking for a bassist. And at that time, I just really wanted to play, man. And I love the band so much. So I shot the shot and then history was made. So it's one of those things.
You took the risk, man. You found out the guy was leaving the band. You were like, hey, listen, it's an opportunity. I'm going to go for it, see what
Yeah.
happens. If they don't pick me, so be it. They're idiots if they don't, but you did it.
Yeah,
And it's
man.
great because the chemistry between the four of you guys is just so organic. Like when we performed that Halloween show at Big and Tall almost 2 years ago at this point, just the four of you on stage, I noticed there was something organic. It wasn't chemistry that you could make up. It was raw. It was real. Granted, you guys were playing Weezer songs. It kind of felt like a meme at times because I got Weezered,
Exactly, man.
but it was
But yeah,
great though. Um,
yeah, they're honestly just some of the most authentic people. We all have our quirks and our personalities, but there's just something about getting on stage and not only meshing with people, but like having like an essence of trust. Like music's a complicated thing because like as a performer, you want to be the best you can be. And it's really rewarding when you can do that and be with other people who are like-minded in that way and who enjoy it the same way you do. And I think I'm just incredibly lucky to be a part of a group like that and a band that has had some time and has had some great music. So I feel like I have the advantage of like being a fan because I love those first three records, and then now I get to like make it with them. So it's definitely a unique experience for sure.
I think so too. And it's amazing the fact that you went through that journey from being a legitimate fan, loving their work, loving their live shows, to joining the band as your bass player. It's similar to Jason Newsted from Metallica when he joined. He was a huge fan. And then when you hear the news that Cliff Burton died, of course,
Yeah.
he mourned with them. He auditioned. He joined the band. You know the whole story within those 15 years. It's been broadcasted all over the freaking world. So
Yeah.
it's kind of similar to that experience that you went through, man.
Yeah, the only difference is I'm not getting shit on by my band members. That's the
Yeah.
only difference. It's a good relationship. We're all good. But yeah, same kind of thing, man. It's just going in. I think I had a different level of appreciation and care to just learning the songs and trying to be like a valuable asset to them. And it was instantaneous. Like I knew as soon as I got to that first audition rehearsal, I was like, yeah, this is where I need to be. And then that opportunity led to me, meeting the Big and Tall family in Woodridge, New Jersey, the great recording studio there. And that just was one of the best things that could have happened to me as far as progressing my career and just meeting some really fantastic people. So it's opened a lot of doors for me, and it's helped me a lot as a performer to be a part of this rolling ball of music, I guess you could call it.
No, for sure. You're in this huge community too. I don't know how you feel about this, Dan, but honestly, the last time I felt like I was a part of a music scene was back when we were in high school. I don't know if you're a few years older than me or younger than me. I'm 28. How old are you?
I'm 26, so not too
Okay.
far, not too far.
Not too far. So between like the golden era of the scene, post-hardcore, metalcore era from '09 through 2012, that was the last time I felt like I was part of a huge scene, going to the Meat Locker in Montclair, the Canvas Clash in Boonton. Wow, name change. Just those venues like that and just feeling the music, meeting those bands. That was the last time I felt any kind of camaraderie. But nowadays with Big and Tall, it seems like they're trying to cultivate that community. So going more into Big and Tall really quick, and then we'll go on to other questions.
Sure.
Do you feel like there's an even stronger sense of community and that there is a music scene that really is brewing, but people just aren't fully aware of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people just don't know yet. Simply put, Big and Tall in its inception has only been around, I think, technically for 2 or 3 years, not long at all. And the one thing about these guys, and I think where a lot of these scenes start and the communities start is with just good people that you just know. We're 26, 28. We've been through the ringer a couple times. We know the kind of people that we don't want to deal with, but we know the people we do. And those guys are some of the most kindest, most hardworking guys ever. And it shows. You come to a show, they don't charge. You want a shirt, they give you a shirt. They don't charge you. You know why? Because they care about the growth and the scene, and they want people to come in and have good experiences. They're expanding the rooms to offer more to people. And just knowing Gabe and Tommy personally, they just bleed passion. And like, how could you not like feel infected by that? And by them having all these shows and supporting all these different genres, I think they're doing everything right as far as growing their business. They have a big and tall playlist out there right now filled with just a huge roster of just absolute banger. It's actually quite insane to know that I have walked into that building and like all these different musicians have come in and just laid down some sauce. So, if you're in the New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, PA area, look on their social media at Big and Tall Recording, look for the shows, come out, like come hang out, meet people. That's where all the good stuff is happening. So can't recommend them enough. Book some time with them. I can yap all day about them, but seriously, they're awesome people.
Are you sure you weren't sponsored by Big and Tall and Gabe to say these nice words?
I cannot confirm nor deny. No, no, genuinely, I have no reason to say any of this besides what I've experienced. They are really, really awesome. So can't say more nice things about them. Really can't.
No, I completely agree. So Spitshine isn't the only band that you're in. You're also in Friends Like Strangers. You guys dropped your debut album out last August, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
What's going on with Friends Like Strangers? Because I know you guys right now, you're a trio. You were looking for a guitar player at the time. Are you guys on pause? Are you slowly, grinding the wheel? What's happening?
I would say grinding the wheel is a good way to put it. That project, definitely, it's a great project to be a part of, but that was a little difficult with logistics and time, and again losing members. So there's a lot of things within that band that made it hard for us to play live, which is half the battle. And it's just one of those things. It happens sometimes with bands, and we were able to kind of route together and finish this record, which we made and we really loved, and we felt that people should hear it. It was just a really cool record. All around. I never had really heard anything like it by the time it was done. And we had so many different and cool, groovy kind of songs, like kind of balance and composure-esque, like heavier, just very like fluid type songs, and it was just really, really cool. And we, again, like you mentioned before, with kind of like the whole DGD influence and stuff, it felt like there was like an essence of like progressiveness in it as well, with what we were doing. So it was this really cool project. And again, because of those logistical issues, with just life and being in college at the time, if you can imagine, it just made it hard for us to get out, and especially COVID, because the band actually started right before COVID and we finished our record during COVID. We were sneaking into the studios at Ramapo College at like midnight to get in and to record and try to do the EP. And then, it was just a lot of like hindrance right from the gate. And, that made it hard for us to be like, well, we're excited about making music, but like we can put it out, but we're not playing shows, and that it was kind of frustrating. And so, after some time, after Nick and Rob had left the band, just to kind of focus on their priorities, we felt that with how much work had been already put into the record, that for the good of the art and for everyone, that we would put it out. So what we're working on right now is getting the machine working again. So we are going to get out. We're going to go play some shows live later in the year. We do have a new single in the works. I'm going to drop that here live for the first time. And we potentially have a new member joining. I can maybe confirm or not confirm that. But yeah, the plan is to kind of give the band the debut it should have had.
Right.
Because we played one show ever, and it was it was actually at Ramapo. We did like an hour set of just all of our songs, and then we never came out again. So it was just one of those things where we wanted to get back out and it just didn't line up. But now we are in a good spot and we've been rehearsing. So be on the lookout for the next couple of weeks.
Hey, there you go. See,
That's
some
all I can
positive
say.
news. You
There's
guys
some
really,
positive news.
yeah, man, you guys really went through it right when you were starting up. Boom, COVID hit. Couldn't really do much. Like you said, sneaking into the studio to record your music. That must have been nerve wracking with only limited time, worrying about being exposed to COVID and then not getting the proper debut. I think it's about damn time you guys are finally reviving the project, you know?
Yeah, and that's what we think. We figure that, if we don't get out now, we're not going to get out ever. So let's get out. Let's play some of these songs from the LP that to me are old in theory. They've been around for 2+ years, but to everyone else who's listened and who appreciates it, it's new to them. And we just want to give it its justice. And we think a cool way to do that is to maybe bring a new single in there and make it a fresh experience and move that forward. So that's really exciting. So that's down the tubes a little bit and coming down. So very excited about that.
It's exciting news, man. Finally, a positive outcome from this crappy negative experience that kind of happened, but out of it, finally approached light at the end of the tunnel, my friend. So great job, seriously.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So I want to ask you a question that's a little bit personal. I think it's something that as I've gotten older and I've seen bands going through different stages of life as far as getting married, having kids, and making different career choices, I want to ask you this question because it's something I'm more aware of now more than ever. You have a full-time job, you have a wife and a kid, you're in two bands. Personally, for you, Dan, how do you manage to balance all of that? Because I'm sure at times it's got to be stressful or difficult, or I don't know, man, based on your experience, it might be the easiest thing. You're a whiz with time management. How do you balance all of that stuff?
It is definitely a struggle sometimes. You can only focus on so many things at once. So it's really a struggle of being able to bounce to different things, but being able to bounce to different things equally. I have a wife who loves me and I love her, and that relationship thrives on attention and being with each other. So, if I'm spending my time equally putting my passion into the music or the bands, I have to figure out a way to equal that in some way and give time to her. I think it's very easy for people to just get consumed by something that the focus gets pulled, the music starts doing well, and it's just like I totally get that. And for me, the reality is I need to house my wife and kid, and it's the same for her. And so I went out and found a job, and it took some time that allowed me to have a little bit of flexibility, to make my own hours and to allow me to not have to work 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., where that time is everyone else, there's so many things that I had to kind of fight for to kind of set me up to do this essentially, which is finding the right job that would allow me to have the time to do this, and then trying to just compartmentalize and say no to things sometimes, and have the expectations that it's two bands, we're not touring regularly, this is not our main source of income, so we can't just pretend that we can do everything at once. Like, time is valuable. Do some stuff now, do some stuff then. That project comes out, it's going to be a banger, and that's what matters. Who cares if it's 6 months later than what a touring band would do, because they do that full time, right? So little things like that, you just have to kind of take those little sacrifices and just remember to not forget about the other aspects. Maybe, there's 7 days in a week. Maybe that weekend I have to do some band stuff, but I'm gonna just keep my next weekend open, and I'm gonna make sure I do a little bit less during the week so I have time. And as long as I'm actively thinking about those things, it tends to work well. Obviously, there's some cases where I'm gone for a long period of time during a day, or I go down for a shoot or record for a weekend, and those are just like sacrifices that are made. And I'm lucky to have someone in my life that understands that and understood that from the get. I told my wife, I was like, listen, regardless of what I'm doing for work, I'm a musician. I'm a performer. That'll never change. Whether or not it's me playing down at the local thing on Saturday nights with the boys, when I'm sick, it doesn't matter. It's never going to stop. So, if things progress and playing becomes a bigger part, that's going to be what I do. And that was the stipulation, and she loves me enough and she understands that. And she supports me. So I can't be any luckier in that realm, seriously. To be able to go out and do my own personal thing and have that support at home. And I try to do the inverse for her and try to support her too.
My friend, you hit the jackpot. Having a wife that really is supportive, communicative, if you want to, yeah, that's a proper word. The fact that you guys know to communicate these things and, you manage your time really well from what it sounds like. You also said two things that really touch my heart, man. Time is valuable, and, you have to learn how to say no. I feel like when we're in these situations where it's just, we're on the go 24/7. Oh, I have to do this. Okay. All right. You just get so consumed with it. I think we're used to having no choice but to say yes, yes to everything. And sometimes we have to be aware that it's okay to be a little bit resistant, learn to say no, because realistically, man, we can't do everything in a single day. We like to think that we can, but sometimes we have to sit back and realize, okay, listen, I can only do whatever I can in this limited amount of time I have in a day. It's okay to say no for certain things or just do that another day. So the fact that you're aware, like, okay, it's fine to say no. I have a wife that supports me, that helps me out. We communicate what's going on. That is so important. So that's what I meant when I said that you hit the jackpot, my friend.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a great thing. And to be honest, it's not like from the gate it was like that. There in a marriage, in any relationship, it's about growing and having that initial discourse, and you eventually get to a better spot, and you learn and you grow and you come to better understandings. So uh, that's the best case scenario, especially in a relationship. So I'm very, very lucky.
So let me ask you a hypothetical question. Okay. It's a fun one. So let's say within maybe like 7 to 10 years, your son comes up to you and says, Daddy, I want to be a musician just like you. What would you say? What kind of advice would you give to your son?
I would say just follow your heart, follow your instincts. I've come across working in like the music teaching industry, School of Rock, that normal musician path. I've seen kids who are passionate about it, and I've seen kids who aren't passionate about it. And that just comes from within. For me, it was me seeing like my dad and some of my family members have instruments. I think that was like, oh, this is cool. But I think deep down, like it was just always kind of there. And if that's there for him, he'll find his way. He'll come to me and he'll say, Dad, I want to pick up the trumpet. I want to try it at school. If he comes to me, he goes, I really want to try out for the baseball team. You know what I mean? I'm gonna let him do it. For me, my parents didn't push me into one direction. They let me kind of show my card, and then they kind of reinforced me to the direction they thought I should go, which is, hey, you should try to, play at church. Especially as like a young kid growing up in like a church household, or you should try to play here or play with these kids. Like they saw that and tried to just like amplify that as much as they could. And then as I got older, that flame just never went out, and I just wanted to play with more people and met Mike, and like you mentioned before, Mike Milano, who's a great guy. Met him, met Rob DeLillo and all those guys. Started playing with them, and then the rest is history. So it just kind of was there. And if he comes up to me and says that, I'm going to encourage him to the end of the earth. To me, it's not really about like getting on that $80,000 tour, getting on that big national thing. Like I just want to write some dope music that people connect with, whether it's okay, 2 monthly listeners. All right, those 2 monthly listeners are rocking it. I'm cool. That's what I'm content with.
Yeah, man,
So
it's a dream, honestly. Just creating music that means something to you. Hopefully, it goes out to some people, even if it's just two people, like you were saying.
yeah,
Cool. Mission accomplished.
exactly.
I love that you're so humble and that you're the kind of father that you're not forcefully pushing your son into a direction, like trying to make him into a future athlete. Like, no, 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 you're going to do this. You're going to like sports. You want him to carve his own path like you did. But your parents, when they realized that you were creating your own path, they guided you in that direction to further
Yeah.
push you away into it. So I think that really speaks volumes, man. You're such a wholesome dude. And I love that.
Yeah, dude, it's an active thing. Wholesome is one thing. I just am trying to give him like it's so cliche. I gave him the better life that I didn't have a bad life. I'll admit it. You know, I was very lucky. I had both parents in my life. You know, I generally didn't have anything too bad happen, and that is honestly worlds better than a lot of other people, and sometimes astronomically better than some people are living. And I can only just wish for the same, if not better, for my son. It's only right, and we'll see how that goes. It's an ongoing process, and you know that's you know for me, I it's and anyone out there just trying to be better. It's a process, you know. Like we go day by day. We screw up here, we mend it here, and we grow. You know, so that's an ongoing process.
Exactly, man. We're only human. We're still evolving. Even when we think that we've grown enough or evolved enough, no, we're always changing. Like we're not static. We're always evolving, you know?
Always evolving. Exactly.
So speaking more about passion and never losing your flames, I gotta ask you this question, man, because I saw your post and thought, God damn it, I should have went and bought a flight ticket. You saw issues in Atlanta. Was it just for one show or both their last two shows that you went?
I had to make the tough decision of only going to the one based on like work schedule and stuff like that. And basically, my motivation for doing this was exactly what you just said, which was, God damn it, I wish I bought a plane ticket and went down there. Um, you know, what's so crazy about them, which not a lot of bands can accomplish, is they were able to build this cult following of people and reach outside of that in such a short time. They were only a band for 12 years at most, 10, 10, and they put out three records, an EP. And when I tell you, like, I would have thought that I was going to like a farewell show for a band that's been around for like 30 years. Like
Wow.
that Saturday was the first night. I think that I can't speak for Sunday's crowd. I would assume it was as voluptuous just because it was the last
Oh
show.
yeah.
But that Saturday crowd was so rowdy, man. Um, and just being down there in Atlanta and like just kind of like feeling the vibes. It was a little rainy that first Saturday, you know, like there was definitely like this like, yo, we're at the like the last issues show. And we got in there and they had some really dope openers. Funeral Portrait and Gideon, both incredible
So
bands opened
good.
up. Gideon's insane, blew my face off. And but you could definitely, you know, it was not quite the last show, but you could tell that, you know, the Boys from Issues, they knew what was going on. You know, this is the final venue. We're not unloading tonight. We're just coming back tomorrow, doing it again, and that's it. Bam, over. And you could feel, you could tell, but you could also tell that they were just having so much fun. You know, they were smiling. They were just like in it. And Brian, oh God, his last name, Brian Butcher,
Yes. Yeah.
from the home team, filled in on vocals. He absolutely killed it. Of course, there's, you know, the haters, you know,
No, of course.
regardless, he killed it. He recorded his own like backing track vocals for like the Live Pro and like just like new, it was insane. And then of course, the biggest moment of my night, I Michael Bond returning to the stage. When I tell you, man, we were all, and I think this is the luckiest thing for me is
Mm,
I got to experience that as a full surprise, unknown, and versus Sunday where I think like everyone kind of already knew.
exactly.
But you know they left the stage and it was kind of that timing where the encore would occur. And I knew from like past sets I kind of had peeked that they do like one or two or three from Black Diamonds and then whatever. So everyone's, you know, one more song, one more song. And then you know, I see this like tall, slender black figure enter stage left. And as soon as I see that figure, I start losing it. And then that guy starts losing it. And then the rest of the place just goes absolutely berserk. And we were, man, I've never been a part of something quite like that. You know, you get a band that comes in that's popular, they
Oh,
come out,
sure.
everyone's like, woo, you know, that's pretty cool energy to be a part of. But when I say, man, I've never felt an energy quite like that when he came out. Just the love and the shock and the you know, I think I went, that's Michael effing Bond at least 20 times in shock. Just like, yeah, everyone knows it, but you know, to me, I'm like, that's actually that. And it was one of the most sweetest things that I've ever seen in my life. And you know, there was some bad blood between them and the rest of the members for a little while there after his initial departure, and to see them get back together and reconcile, for the sake of what they built together, I thought was super, super beautiful. So, he's got his Woe Is Me band, they're back together. So he's taking care of that. Sky's touring with 21 Pilots, and Josh is touring with Kane Brown and or whoever it is, and they're all doing crazy stuff. AJ's going to Bad Wolves. He just released a song called Knife with them, which is super, super sick. So it literally could not have been a more perfect show. It really, really was just something else.
Dude, when I saw your post, oh man, like I felt jealous because I should have went, but also I felt at peace seeing that Michael Bond went because, like you said before, and I was going to touch on it, there was bad blood. He got kicked out from Issues in the end of 2017. We
Yeah,
never thought it was going to be a full circle moment when they were doing their final farewell shows. So the fact that he showed up, and I think they may have done the entirety of Black Diamonds. You were there, you could tell me.
they
Uh,
absolutely did.
Dude,
Yeah,
would have never imagined that in my lifetime. Never thought it would have happened. So it was a full
no,
circle moment. I got so emotional because this band meant so much to me in the 12 years that I've been a fan. Like I was with them since day one when Black Diamonds came out, just singing to Princeton Ave and King of Amarillo, my
yeah,
favorite
man.
songs from them. So for you, not just as a musician or as a fan, but as a human being, what did Issues mean to you?
Oh man, it means so much to me on a lot of different levels. They're just one of those bands that I think hit every single mark. They are great communicators in music, and they're great communicators in lyrics. And like, there's not a lot of bands that can really nail to perfection both. There's a lot of bands that are super good and have great lyricists and great instrumentals, but they did something that no one else had ever done before. And we're so genuine in it, and we're just, like, I remember the first song I ever got into with them was actually Hooligans. And so that was the one that got me into them, and then I went backwards and then forwards, and then that was it for me. But the fact that you had just Tyler Carter and his super, super soulful and communicative lyrics, just the absolute dominance and writing style of A.G. Rebello, and then of course when Sky got into the band around the Hooligans era, like I just couldn't really describe exactly what they were doing, but I did know that it was completely original and that they were going to be the biggest band in the world. I listened to that song and I was like, how can somebody not like this? Even if, you got the people out there, "Oh, I don't like the screaming," but like, even so, man, like, there's just something about those songs that were just so connectable and so relatable. And, I was pretty much hooked from there. And, I was able and fortunate enough to see them on the Beautiful Oblivion tour. I didn't quite. I was dumb. I was young. I didn't see him on the Warped Tour circuit. I should
Ah,
have. I should have. I was dumb, but I was able to at least see them in 2019, or maybe it was the end of 2018. It's one of those 2 years. They'd come around and toured the album, and that, off of Issues for a minute, was the moment that I was actually able to see Sleep Token for the first time.
get out.
They opened. They had just started to put out Sundowning,
Hmm.
and Issues took them on tour. They were the first band on 6:30, 7 o'clock, and no one knew who they were.
Yeah.
They started with The Night Does Not Belong to God, and I stood there in awe for like 25 minutes. And then Rob DeLillo and Nick, our friends, came in, and I was like, guys, you just missed the coolest
Ooh.
band ever. And lo and behold, lo and behold, of course, you can't get a ticket now. It's insane. But yeah, so I have to also thank Issues for that. They have just been known to bring some of the best bands and some of the most nicest bands on tour. Like, they don't really care about like status. They just bring whoever they fuck with essentially. And it's always some good stuff. So yeah, I can't understate how much they've meant to me enough, and I'm so happy that I went. I'll never forget that as long as I live, for
Ah,
sure.
beautiful words, man. Dan, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. Just hearing you talk
Yeah,
about
man.
music and what Issues meant to you. Oh man, I'm getting in my feelings right now, brother. Come on, don't do this to me. Ah, oh
I know,
God.
man. I'm telling you, like, there's not a dry eye in that house. And it was just cool to like feel that way with everyone else. You know, everyone else had that sort of like bittersweet kind of feeling, and you know, I don't know, man. There's just something very uniting about that. You know, like we all sweet appearance. And thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So as I let you go, for anyone watching this, where can they follow you on social media? Where can they follow Spitshine, Friends Like Strangers? So when that new single drops, they know when and where to get it.
You can follow me at Dan C Plays Bass on most of all the socials for me personally. You can follow Spitshine at Spitshine NYC on Instagram. I think we're just Spitshine on Twitter. We don't use Twitter too much. That is a fun platform. And then, yeah, just Friends Like Strangers, Friends Like Band on all platforms. Check us out. We're going to be playing some shows soon.
Awesome. Dan C of Spitshine and Friends Like Strangers. Thank you so much, man. Let's hang out soon in person. Let's jam. Let's do something together. All right.
Sounds good, bro. Let me know.
All right. Take care, man. Thank you so much.